Hello everyone, I'm back. Oh my god, I have missed the channel. It's been like 2 or 3 months. I'm very happy to announce that I'm not dead, and in fact, I've been very busy while I was gone working on a pretty big project, and I can finally share it here. So, I get an email a couple months ago from a guy representing the upcoming anniversary event for Genshin Impact. Well, at this point, I guess it's already happened. But anyways, I'd never played Genshin Impact, but I'd seen it all over the Epic Games Store, and I've got a couple friends who played it, so I quickly realized this was a pretty big deal. Turns out they were looking for a render based on a prompt, basically in which one of their characters runs across screen and interacts with some flying object. It's a lot like the Punisher 3D render challenges. The renders are then going to be stitched together for an event. So, I took a wild shot in the dark and said, yeah, I can do that. So for this video, I'm going to take you guys along with me into the roller coaster of a process this was.
Business. Plain and simple.
First order of business was pitching a concept to these guys, which meant generating some concept art. So I took a screenshot of the Blender template and brought it into Procreate to sketch out an idea. Like I said, I didn't really know what Genshin Impact was all about, so I had to talk to some friends of mine who'd played it to start getting the ideas rolling. I learned a lot. Apparently this character's name is Payman, which is insane because my only previous reference to Payman is one of the literal kings of hell from Hereditary.
Hail, Payman! Hail!
So that's cool. Using Genshin Impact concept art and some AI-generated references, I was able to come to a complete sketch and pitch, so I sent it over to the contact. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but they went for it. Immediately, I'd now kind of trapped myself in a box. I had to somehow deliver on turning this image into a full, clean 3D scene, and I was betting pretty hard on my ability to figure it out as I go along. So, I got started. Okay, so this isn't a tutorial, and I don't have a script, so this is gonna be a lot more loose. It's more like a devlog, but for a render, or like a showcase or visual journal.
I don't know, you tell me what that is.
As you can see, I'm kicking things off in VR for sculpting. I recently got a program called ShapeLab, which allows you to sculpt in VR, which is pretty cool and a lot more intuitive than trying to do it through Blender or ZBrush, which is usually some sort of nightmare. And as you can see here, I can even do the texturing within ShapeLab. These pieces here are going to work as landscape. I made a bunch of these like pepper-shaped pieces of land, which you can see referenced here in the concept art, then scatter them around in Unreal Engine. These are obviously really basic models, but once you add the stylized foliage on top of them, I think they work. So it would actually be quite a while before I found the final look, but I just wanted to get all the elements in. So the people I was working with provided models from the game, but as you can see here, the first one I tried to mess around with was completely busted, and I could not figure out how to get the textures to work, so I just switched over to the other one. His materials weren't busted, so it was time to move on to the joy of... I mean, what the what? Still not quite what we're looking for. Getting character animations to work was hard. So the Blender file they sent with the camera motion was not able to translate into Unreal Engine, so I was eyeballing that part. Getting the actual character to animate using placeholder Mixamo animations required all kinds of extra rabbit holes, especially to get these cloth physics to do anything. Once I got that remotely working, even more difficult was getting the animations for Payman to work. I'll try and remember to put my previous videos on animation blending up in the annotations here. This was a nightmare of that. Getting this thing to look natural in animation was kind of hell, so I guess I kind of get it. It's like embarrassing how many attempts it took to get to anything remotely presentable, and the client was asking to check in on my progress, so I rendered out a first draft here, which was a bit rough.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
They had a lot to say. They very eloquently told me it was bad and needed fixing. So I went into some sort of blackout, didn't record any of it, and came back with this. Which I'd say is a whole lot better. Going from this guy here, this like oversaturated neon hell in a couple of days, to this, which is a lot more pleasing on the eyes and has a more natural looking gradient. That was a big step forward into actually having a direction with this whole render, and it's a lot more closely related to the concept art. Would you believe it? Having direct feedback based on the art you're doing is really useful. So anyways, I now had to move on to working on some runes. Those are the little pyramids I'm having animate around the character. I had all kinds of plans for how to achieve this effect when I drew it, and none of them worked, so I ended up having to do all kinds of weird shit to get it functional. At first, this was looking way too static, so I had to add some sort of like appearance and motion to them. For the motion, I was just going to have them rotate, but for whatever reason, whenever I spun them on the Z-axis, they did more of like an orbit around the character, and I couldn't figure out how to fix this, so I just acted like it was a design choice. To really add to this orbiting rune effect, we're going to be going back to something I tried out in my second video here on the channel. It's this guy here, the Character Appearance and Dissolve pack, which gives these cool animated appearance effects, which you can add to any existing material and then track into Sequencer for animation. It took me a little bit to remember how all this worked, but once I got there, I think it really tied the rune effect together. Alright, so that was looking pretty good, and it was back to animation hell of this fucking fairy character. Since the whole render was so retimed, I was basically having to redo the animations, and I need to rework my process, because every time the client wanted to make any adjustments to the animations, I'd almost have to start over, which was not time efficient, and kind of bit me in the ass towards the end. But regardless of that, here is what I sent in next. Yeah, they didn't like the payment animation, so they told me to just get rid of it and replace it with another one of the runes.
Get rid of
It's fine. I was free of having to animate that character, so I hopped back over into VR to do some more adjustments and custom painting of the models I'd set up for the environment. Being able to do this all in VR is a lot more intuitive to me, and I'm looking forward to being able to work with this program for future projects. Not sponsored or anything, it's just pretty neat. Like, I wanted the models to have a painterly style, and I don't know of a better way to achieve that than being able to go in and, like, literally paint them. I felt like I was painting models again, like old tabletop miniatures. I was half tempted to treat this segment like Bob Ross, just have some calm music and talk about detail all tenderly. But anyways, bringing these back into Unreal Engine feels really good. Solid model here. I was able to then move around to make the background seem more complex. I should probably mention, the reason why it's all broken up like this is because you only see it from one angle, so it doesn't have to actually make any structural sense, and that's why we've got all these floating towers. And then Epic Games shut down for a second because of the Eminem Fortnite concert. In the meantime, I did some more sculpting. The concept art promised windmills, so I made some windmills. As you can see, I'm using a pre-made windmill as reference, and then making a more stylized, low-poly version. I'm still learning how VR sculpting really works, but I definitely need to do a full video about it here on the channel. So, hey, subscribe for that if you want to see that. YouTube. Alright, did you guys like that little windmill making segment? Unreal Engine came back online, so I ported the windmill over and added a couple more finishing touches to the environment, like some birds, volumetric smoke. Here's some fancy shots of that. I think it turned out looking pretty good in the end. So I really like it. I think it came out with a really cool, like, whimsical, painterly feel. There wasn't much more to do at this point. I updated the rune effect and continued fighting with the cloth simulations off camera, which was an infinite battle throughout this whole thing. And with that, sent in that third draft. So exchanging one animation problem for another, they wanted more interaction with the actual character itself and the rune effect, which is understandable, but I wasn't really sure how to do that while also maintaining the pacing and framing of the animation. So I brought the character over to Cascadeur, actually recording this time, thank God, and started doing some hand adjustments. Now, I've been able to do animation tweaking like this before, but it was more of an issue of time at this point. We were closing in fast on the deadline, so there wasn't a lot of time to really, like, tweak this like I wanted to. No matter what the program, even with all these fancy AI tools that Cascadeur comes with, it's still just a tedious process. So I was kind of in a mad rush for the last few days, trying to get something that would satisfy what the client was finally asking for. To add a further level of interaction, I made the character's eyes glow as well when the rune effect appears, and submitted a final draft. Pause. So, I thought the animation turned out alright. With the time constraints, it was more I would have liked to have done, and on top of this, my computer decided to start just randomly blacking out, which made iterating on this animation even more difficult. Of course, as soon as the deadline shows up, that's when the computer decides to start crashing. But I sent this in, and womp womp. So that was that. I spent the whole project so worried about not hitting the mark. When it finally didn't, I just kind of felt catharsis. But I didn't call it yet. I just kind of waited for a little bit, and sure enough, after a week, I get another email. I am still paraphrasing these emails. The point is, by whatever miracle, I had one more shot to get this done. Once again, I didn't really record any of this, so we might as well just jump to the true final draft here. And that's the one they actually liked. So we got there, good ending, they actually ended up using it, and I learned so much. Working for a client like this taught me ways to push the look of a render so much further beyond what I'd typically call done. I'm honored to have been a part of this. To make a render for an event like this is a really exciting opportunity. The video this has been a part of is nearing 10 million views, which is absolutely insane to process. If you're watching this far into things, I hope this video has been of inspiration, and taking a shot like this can actually pan out. So that's that. I've been wanting to get this video out for a while, showcasing what I've been up to, but this isn't it. Lots of cool new projects are in the works to show off here on the channel coming soon. I'll see you guys in the next one.